Hi, welcome to another edition of Business Bites from Bauer Media Audio Northern Ireland. My name is David Tighe, the Managing Director here, and each week we delve into the world of business and we tell a story, and this week is no different. In fact, it's great to welcome Mark Prentice onto the program. Mark is the Commercial Director with the Copeland Distillery.
Good to meet you.
Great to have you. Great to have you here. So let's talk about the Copeland Distillery. First of all, just tell us, what is it? And then give us a bit of how the Copeland Distillery arrived into our world.
Okay, well, look, I mean, the Copeland business started in 2015, actually through crowdfunding.
Right.
About 6 or 7 months before we even produced a bottle of gin, and it was myself and the founder of the business, Gareth Irvine, just on social media talking about what we wanted to do, the sort of product we wanted to make, the values that we wanted to put into those products. And we set ourselves a target of about 15 or 20,000 pounds worth of funding. And inside about 7 weeks, we raised 30,000 pounds from over 300 individuals. And they were local individuals and individuals from across the water who just saw what we were looking to do and really wanted to be part of it. And so after the initial crowdfunding, we set the business up. And in 2019, we moved into a new bespoke distillery just about 30 yards from the pier at Donaghadee. We've been there since 2019. We have 2 whiskey stills and a gin still. We produce a range of single malt and pot still whiskies. We produce a range of award-winning gins. Our Irish gin actually won the International Wine and Spirits Competition trophy in 2022. So technically, we've got the best gin in the world. And we're one of really only a handful of distilleries in Ireland that make rum. So we've got quite a wide portfolio of products that we actually make right here in Donaghadee.
Brilliant, great story, and the crowdfunding is just excellent. Let's just talk about the business of running a distillery. Okay, so most people, will just go and buy a bottle of something or get something delivered that looks rather interesting, and they'll enjoy it, but they won't think too much about, well, how did it get into my hands? So, what are the steps? I mean, rum in Donaghadee, I mean, it doesn't really kind of add up in my head. So how does all that work?
Yeah, we get the same question from many of our export partners in the US and Canada and further afield. Look, we have 4 values in our business. 2 of them around history and community. We very much like to tell stories of days gone by in Donaghadee and the Ards Peninsula. And actually in the 1700s and the 1800s, the Copeland Islands, which are only probably half a mile off the coast of Donaghadee, they were used for smuggling tobacco, whiskey, and rum into Ireland. So we've got lots of stories of rum smugglers from the Copeland Islands, and that's what encouraged us to make a rum product. But our other 2 values are around taste and innovation. We like to do things differently to other people. So we use traditional distillation methods, but we use different cask options and different botanicals to create some quite unique products. Things like our Navy strength cask aged gin that we aged in Kentucky bourbon casks for about 3 months. And then we put it into Oloroso sherry casks for another 20 days. And that gets a product that, quite frankly, certainly when we talk to export distributors, sort of products that they don't see on their shelves in their markets, and they're hugely excited by them. So look, running a distillery is a hugely cash intensive business. Clearly, we're making whiskey today that we won't have in the market for 5 years. But we balance that with obviously ongoing sales of gin and of rum and of our whiskey blend that we sell domestically in the Republic of Ireland and GB, and as I say, in a number of other export markets.
Right. Okay. So it's a multifaceted operation in that respect. So we always like to talk about businesses that have travelled beyond these shores. So just give us an idea of where we might find some of these wonderful products that you're putting together.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, when we first sort of looked at export, and that was probably about 18 months, 2 years ago, what we saw initially was a reaction really for all things Irish. particularly Irish whiskey. I mean, Irish whiskey is currently the second fastest growing spirits category in the world. And in fact, the market estimates are that it'll overtake Scotch in about 10 years, which is quite incredible when you consider 2013, there were 4 distilleries in Ireland producing whiskey. There's now over 50. And that's really as a response to all things Irish, and particularly Irish whiskey. So, I mean, currently we export into the US. We're in 7 states in the US currently. We look to grow that to about 10 by Q3. So we're in everywhere from Arizona in the west to the Colorado mountains, the Midwest, Georgia in the east, and soon to be launching in New York. We're also in Canada, out in Alberta. We distribute product into Australia, into Sweden, Abu Dhabi, of all places. And actually, we're looking at distribution partners in Japan and China. And as I said, that's really come about. A number of those distributors have come about because they've seen our products on the web. We focus a lot on great packaging, but more than that, producing some fantastic liquids. But the presentation of the products is what's brought a number of distributors to us, and the rest we've worked hard at across different markets, particularly the US, which is a difficult market to get into, to try and build the right distribution network.
And how did you find a number of businesses that we've spoken to over the years said that there was exponential growth in online, the online side of their business through the lockdown periods of the last few years. Did you see the same trend where your online business just changed at that point?
Well, we were probably we actually moved into the distillery in August 2019. So just ahead of the lockdown. Not a great time to spend over £1 million on a new distillery, but look, it was what it was. We actually flipped very quickly into hand sanitizer, as a number of craft distilleries did. And we distributed that free of charge to local care homes and local health centres. We sold some of it actually into the NHS because we could turn things around quickly when some of the bigger manufacturers couldn't. And the rest we sold sort of privately. So whilst we were doing that hand sanitizer business, that gave us the opportunity to develop some new products. That's where we launched our Navy Strength Cascades gin. That's when we developed our rum range. That's when we really started ramping up our whiskey. So we actually used the pandemic slightly differently. We actually delivered some good value out of what we were doing with hand sanitizer, but we spent a lot of time developing the range. And that's probably why they were in the position that we are today, with the widest portfolio of spirits really of any Irish distillery, which gives us opportunities for different products in different markets, depending on that market needs and the tastes of that local consumer.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the conversation, and I'd just like to talk about what's next. So obviously you are innovators, you're doing lots of different products. Where are we going into the future? What's the future look like for you guys?
Well, as I said, we've been producing whiskey for about 4 years. So that whiskey is just getting to the point where we want to release it to the market.
I forgot about that bit. Yeah, it takes a while to make it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of cash up front until you actually get to a product. We as I say, we focus on traditional distilling methods, but we do things slightly differently. We double distill rather than triple distill. We do it what we call low and slow to get the maximum flavor out of the distillate. So that's been maturing for the last 4 years. So early part of next year, we'll see the launch of our first 5-year-old whiskey, and that will give us different price points, particularly in the more premium end of the market, and that's where we're seeing consumers starting to trade into. I think as more and more people are feeling the pressure in terms of monetary pressures at home, they seem to be drinking more at home and less in going out, and when they're consuming at home, they're choosing a more premium product, whether that's rum, just gin or whiskey. So the next few years for us is all about starting to release the whiskey we've been producing for the last 5 years, but it's about growing our base in the US. We'd really like to double the size of our business and our representation in the US to maybe 15 states. And certainly the Far East market is a is a huge growth market in terms of whiskey and dark spirits, and that's where we're seeing an awful lot of interest. So heading west and heading east, as well as continuing to sell more on the island of Ireland and in GB.
Well, it's a great story, Mark, and thanks for sharing it with us. There are many businesses that we've spoken to over the years where I've asked if I can go and have a look in the real world, and yours is one of those ones that I think I might pay a visit to.
Well, you'd be very welcome. We're actually the only distillery in Ireland where you can sit and have a coffee and actually look at the production floor and what the guys make, gin, whiskey or rum. So you're very welcome.
Well, thanks, Mark, and we wish you and all the team at the Copeland Distillery the very best into the future. So thanks for being our guest.
Thank you very much.